So at this point in our story, Henry is battling depression. Henry is using alcohol and drugs to cope with insecurities. Henry is using alcohol and drugs to cope with the guilt from using alcohol and drugs. But also, Henry is battling guilt because Henry's mom was a counselor helping other people's children to cope with their own distresses. So Henry started to feel like his issue would stress his mom, and to cope with that stress and that guilt, Henry took more and more and more. And he also told us how he knew, we'd hit a dead end when he got up and he had a drip in his hand. And the backstory to that was he just woke up in his boxers and walked, just walking. So, Henry, it's really good to hear your story, and thank you once again for sharing it with us. So, from what you've shared, would it be correct to say using substances also affects your memory? Do you feel like, because when you take it, you temporarily forget what it is you're struggling with. So after a while, does that start to affect your memory?
Yeah, okay. It does. And it does a lot, especially depending on what you're using, and then also how much are you using, or how much has this addiction problem gone, because there were points also with alcohol, even before the weed. With alcohol, I would drink and wake up and I don't know what happened. I need time to recollect how did the night go. There was a time I lost my phone and I tried to recollect events of how my phone got lost, and yet I was not very drunk. I was not, but now it affected even when I would not use. There are things, someone tells you something and within 30 minutes
you've forgotten.
So it contributed a lot. Memory loss played out, especially at the later time when I started using other drugs. Yes.
That's very helpful. So at this point, I just want us to go back to the point where you take the walk and you're arrested in your boxers by good Samaritans on hindsight, right?
Yeah.
And this is where now your journey into rehab begins.
Yes.
So talk to us about this. How do we come to the intervention of rehab after that incident? And did you fight it? Were you open to it? Talk to us.
When you talk of rehab, and usually they tell you Butabika, the first thing that goes to mind, what happens. You will think Butabika is a place for people who have gone off. People who have totally lost it. So it was a struggle, because in the first place, after getting me in that incident of the boxer, I had to, I know one thing about addiction. Addiction makes you develop a lot of denial. You develop a lot of lies. You reach a point and lying is not a problem. Someone can come and tell you something, it is true, and your lie will come out when you're very comfortable. You will not need to start thinking of what should I lie. Immediately when the situation is happening, something is coming up quick, because you're now accustomed to lying to get everything. Because on so many incidences, you realize you're broke. I realize I'm broke. So what I need to do is to just get humble, forge a few tears, come and tell my mom, you know what, I think this is the devil. I'm done with this. I want to quit. First, give me some money. I need to go and do a good haircut. I need to eat some good food, since I've not been eating.
The devil has stopped me from eating.
Exactly. They give you 50, before you know it, your phones are off. You're coming back home drunk.
With no haircut.
With no haircut. Actually, you come with the hair with soil. Maybe you were lifted at some point. So all those things, it just changes the way, it changes the normal functioning of one's mind. So university, and now they tell me we are going to rehab. No. I started getting excuses. Maybe let me first finish the course.
Yeah.
Let me
Rehab can
finish.
wait. I'm in
Yes,
school.
I'm in school.
Mm.
How do I get a dead semester when I mean that I'm in the rehab? But you see, you had a certain, I think even up to now, where you study 2 semesters, then there are 4 months. There are 4 months of a holiday before you join the next
year.
Yeah, so I had agreed that, you know what, because for me they had wanted me to go immediately, but I wanted to buy time. Of course, I knew that this is not something I'm just going to quit like this out of the blue. So give me time to start preparing mentally. So of course, as the time kept approaching, I also started getting the anxiety, the fear. So to avoid that, of course, just like I've told you, as usual, go and drink, you know, just keep on. I don't want to think about it. Each time something, reality comes, you know, facing you, and I'm trying to avoid it, you cloud it with substances.
So what were some of the things you were afraid of about going to rehab? What were your fears?
One was the perception.
Yeah.
I knew there is people are gone, you know. Why am I going in this environment?
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about rehab. It was my first time. I tried to read books, what is involved. You know how you search on the internet, what is involved in rehab. So I kept on pushing. Then also just imagining being there, doing nothing. You're just in rehab, that you're on treatment. So all those thoughts kept coming. I'm like, what if, I mean, is it like jail where people, you know how sometimes you watch things on movies and what, where jail people fight, you know?
So there rehab, was, so you thought it was like a jail.
Exactly.
You sit there the whole day doing nothing.
Exactly. So of course the time came, and before that someone took me there just to look, which was very important. Now that was my mom got me someone who had been through this and had recovered. So she had said, okay, this is not just like a counselor to you. He just let him just be like someone to talk to you.
Sort of coach.
And yes, and trust me, I liked this guy because he understood. Like I wanted someone who had lived this kind of experience to talk to me, not off the book counselors, and you know, I wanted someone who had really gone through this. So there was a time we even had a meeting with him. Then he's like, do you commit to, you know, stop? I said, yeah, I commit. And he told me something that made me start opening up to him. He told me that I'm very sure when you live here, after you've done a corner up there like this, you're going to use
substances again.
And in my mind, that is what I was planning. When I'm done with him here, I will go to the bush, the exact part he told me. And I started thinking, okay, this person knows. He understands addiction, that, you know, it's not something easy. It is a process. It takes time. It takes a lot of things, and you just don't quit just like that. There are things that aid your recovery. So we went to Butabika, and there's a unit called Alcohol and Drug Unit.
Yes.
So I entered there, and I'm seeing these normal guys, you know. People are okay, people have studied, and I'm like, okay, this is quite this is not as I thought it was. So of course I got morale. And they told me if it's just 2 months, that's okay. They told me my trial would be 2 months.
Okay, so you start with a trial.
Yeah, the trial of 2 months, and if they see I'm doing good, then that's fine. So during that break, now I joined Rehab. But you know, Rehab also has sectors, no, different people. So there were these rich kids.
So when you get there, so it's not a jail after all.
It's not a jail.
So when you get there, take us on a mentor tour.
Yeah.
So you enter.
Yeah, I entered. Of course, I am taken to this first like a treatment room somewhere. They take blood samples, you know. But just the journey inside, even before. There's a unit now for those with acute mental illness. Yeah, so it was scary. because these guys are literally shouting, you know, they are jumping off a fence to just come and be in this outside space. It's like, is this? But I enter this alcohol and drug unit, and it tells me, if you're to come, this is the place. So I enter inside. I'm seeing people. Say, yeah, how are you? Are you joining us? You know, seeing people talking like just like you.
Yeah.
It's like, this is normal. It's like, you see you. Hey, yeah, you see you. So.
Hey.
So I even realized like there are
be
people, such kind of things. So,
interesting.
so I realized, okay, this is not a bad place. It's not a bad place. And because they had, one of the things they had told me, don't worry about withdrawals, because that is one of the things people fear, the withdrawals. Now that time when you've taken a few hours without, and the body now wants it back, and here you are. So now it was that person who was there, the one I met. Yeah, he told me, don't mind here. They have medicines that can make you feel like, feel like how we have been using the other thing. So don't worry. It is a detox, but it will not be hard. Withdrawals will not disturb you.
Wow. Yeah. If you are watching the show, we are in the middle of exploring what a rehab journey looks like. Henry is just sharing with us what walking through the doors of the alcohol and drugs unit at Butabika Hospital was like. Some pleasant surprises. Saw his friends. What's up? What's up? But also some things that we did not, or he did not expect, that we're also exploring. Hopefully, if you are watching this and you know someone who's contemplating going for recovery, or if you are just curious to find out what's that like, then this is for you. Henry, there's a couple of things that you've just shared with us that I think are very important. A lot of things. The value of having a mentor, so somebody to prepare you for that journey, because I think when you don't know what lies ahead, it makes it very daunting. But having someone who had walked this journey walk with you made a difference. Butabika Hospital. Most of us know that Butabika Hospital is a psychiatric hospital, but yes, there is, because there's a connection between your mental health and substance abuse, there is a unit at Butabika Hospital that addresses this issue. So if any of you is watching and wondering, where do I even start? Yeah. Butabika, like Henry has shared with us, is one place we could explore. Now just walk us through, because there's something interesting you've said. Your mentor told you how it's going to flow. You get there, you find experts who are experienced in handling this, right? And you also mentioned to us that, or you used the phrase, this is what, a detox. You made reference to a detox. Yes. So is that what you went in for? Did you go in to do an alcohol detox? And first of all, just from your experience, what's a detox? And what were the side effects or fears that came with doing one?
Okay, yeah, so usually if someone has been using alcohol or drugs for a very long time and your body is now dependent on it.
Right.
Yes, whereby without it, it affects not just the physical, but even emotions. Yeah? That's when you get the tremors, you start shaking, irritated. And the funny bit is when you give someone even a quarter glass also who is manifesting these withdrawals to sip, you'll come back to normal. You'll realize it's starting to come down and what. So that is usually a fear among very many people when going to rehab. Like, how am I going to handle? Because in some cases they get fatal, especially if you've been using a lot. I remember I survived an accident. I was just on the road and then I got a seizure. I had tried quitting on my own. Okay, saying let me first try 2 days, because it became worse that I could not go a day without using. So one of these days I attended a church service somewhere, and this pastor is preaching, you know, whatever you're going through, you can make it. And I'm like, okay, yeah, let me see. I was once born again, so never,
you can reset.
yeah, I can reset. Let me try. It was bad. I was lucky that there were no cars coming, you know. So that seizure just comes like that. It is part of the withdrawals.
Wow. So what Henry has just explained to us is something that is called withdrawal in SUD.
Yes.
We call them substance use disorder patients. So what happened was you become dependent on the drug. You can't live without it. You can't think without it. So, you know, it helps you balance your emotions. You don't know how to survive apart or without it. It literally becomes your life source. So any attempt at removing the substance is akin to removing oxygen, just because it's like your life support, right? And when that happens, because the body doesn't know how to live without it, it sort of goes into shock, or what we call withdrawal. And those withdrawals manifest in different ways. So some people get tremors, some people get bouts of anxiety, the memory lapses you spoke about. All of those can be manifestations of withdrawals.
Someone can sweat for 5 hours.
Profuse for 5 hours, sweating for 5 hours, profuse
even when
sweating.
It's raining.
Even when it's raining, right? Yeah. So profuse sweating, all those are forms of withdrawal.
Yeah.
So if you are with someone who suddenly starts experiencing these symptoms, what would be the first aid?
Of course, the first aid is a detox.
The detox.
Yeah.
So at that point, so when we start seeing withdrawals of that intensity, then we know we need to get help.
Exactly.
All right. Okay. So one of the fears for going into rehab was, if I go there, how will I manage? What if these withdrawals come? How am I going to deal with this? You know, because you don't know how to be without the drug. And you said your coach assured you there's medication and there's help to help you walk through even those effects. So there's really nothing to fear. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. So of course, the first stage, they do blood samples and all that, you know, just to get your information. But now the detox, this detox works in a way that it is meant to give you a certain feeling as to what you were using, gives you a little bit of a high.
Oh.
But in the process, it is, because usually in most cases what the issue is, one of the things people fear a lot when you're struggling with this is being awake and sober.
Right. So soberness is
being
frightening.
Awake and sober, because you think it will recollect, because now here you're not using, your mind is starting to get in shape, and realities are coming back. All the mistakes you made out, all the people you hurt, all, you know, you're facing. So it's one of the things, actually, if you meet anyone whom you're taking there and then they are prescribing a drug, you'll ask, does it give sleep? Yeah. So this detox is such a kind of, actually, when they are even putting it in you, by that time they have made sure you're already on your bed, your admission bed, because it takes you out in about 5 seconds. Then you sleep probably for 10 hours or so. You wake up, of course it's a sick feeling, but you know it is because the process has started of the detox. So they put you on that medication for some time, as your body gets, until a certain point when they have to now bring you back, start weaning you off slowly. Of course, they have supporting medications that help, like the mood stabilizers and all that. Then also, the most important, they have counselors, they have psychologists who will walk you through. Yeah, who will walk you through this, because this thing is not just about stopping to drink, it's about changing everything that has been going on in your life. So there are psychologists, who help you. So that's how I end up in rehab, and I saw it was a good run, first days. But now as you're there, we are having stories, you know. There are these kids who have been to the UK, his father is in the army and all that. So people are talking of drugs. you know. People are talking of the different drugs they have used and all that. So I'm listening to this. People are talking of cocaine, people are talking of heroin, people are talking of meth. And I'm thinking in my head, okay, can I just try once?
Oh my.
Just to
So
see
in
how.
rehab. Wow.
Just to see how. Of course, they are talking about it in rehab, but it is not being delivered there at that moment. But they are talking about how it works. So, you know, when you're in rehab, you have a lot of time. Yeah? You know, you sit in conversations, there's really nothing much to do.
Wow.
So you talk about anything. So these people are talking of these drugs. It doesn't smell. It doesn't give red eyes. You can go to class, sit, and no one will sense. You'll be normal. You'll be excited. No one will understand. They'll think you're just a happy guy, yet for you in your mind. So I said, okay, maybe I'll try that one once, just only once,
just to test.
To see. Because me, the truth is, I'd seen these things in movies. I had never really even seen them like physically. So I said, okay, well, I'll try this out. But then before that, when my time of discharge, and that's another big issue, that has to be looked at when patients are in rehabilitation. Because sometimes, again, people get addicted to this medicine that they have used for detox. Because one day I was surprised. I woke up at about 2 a.m. and I'm seeing these guys forcing themselves into the treatment room. So me, what came to my mind, because each time they would confiscate maybe alcohol from someone, they would keep it in the treatment room. Yes, they keep it as evidence until the next day, when like the in-charge comes and they make a report. So I see these people trying to break in, and me, I knew probably there's evidence of drugs that they want from there, but it's not what they wanted. They wanted medicine.
Wow.
Yeah, so they were able to get in it, set in, they would crush it, then, you know, snort it in and all that. And of course, even me, I started using it, but not in that form. I would just swallow it because it would give sleep, it would help, it would make you feel, you know, a certain way. Yeah, you're not fully here, you know, confused a little bit, but it's doing its work. So that was also another issue that came in. Got addicted to these tablets. In that even the day I was being discharged, I carried a little bit of them now to go and continue.
Wow.
But so when I now fast forward to when I come back out of rehab after that time, of course my counselor has done a good job. We have talked, we have drawn strategies, but one important thing I forgot to mention is this first time, I did not do this out of my own will. You know, there was a lot of pressure on me on how I am going to go mentally ill. So I saw it as the only, you know, a lot of pressure from everywhere. So I was not into the whole thing at that moment.
Okay.
That first time there.
Okay. All right. You've said something about being addicted on the cure to addiction. There's something there, and I really hope we can explore that at some point when we come back. Welcome back. Thank you for staying tuned to the Mindful Show, where we talk about all things mental health. This is your reminder to subscribe and also follow us on Instagram at the Mindful Show, where you can get updates and a lot of useful information on mental health. Once again, we'd like to thank our sponsors, 20K Premium Fashion. If you like my jewelry, you can follow them on at 20K on Instagram. Today we're talking about addiction, and we have a very interesting story on the set. Now we are at the point where Henry was just explaining to us something very interesting. So we've gone through our rehab journey. We've started medication. But there's something interesting that has unfolded. Being on detox treatment for addiction and then getting addicted to the detox treatment. Just feels like, feels like a rabbit hole here, but it is far from that, and we will see that in this next segment. Welcome back, Henry.
Yes.
This journey is clearly not straightforward. It is quite turbulent. But also, I think for me, what this experience is doing for me is it's really, really eye-opening, and I'm sure even our viewers are appreciating these different dimensions. So while we were on the break, you just shared how, people start to break in to get the detox treatment because it helps them to sleep, And Henry also just shared, you were sharing how someone got some of the effects of taking too much of the detox treatment. Yeah, just very briefly for our guests.
Yeah, because there are some people, probably this one detox, I think as they keep taking it, they feel they need more. So someone mixed quite a number of them, because there are many, and of
so
which,
this is while you were there, eh?
Yes, and of which some of those drugs don't work together. It has to be, it is prescribed by the psychiatrist who is there, this, so they know what works with what. But since someone has information, knows that, okay, among the detox we have this, and this. So for someone who wants to feel high on detox, decides to take 4 different types.
Cocktails.
Cocktails, and this person developed a psychosis, like affected, and that was it. So yeah, it also has its, just like the other drugs, the other substances, also it also has its consequences when you overuse it.
Wow.
Yeah,
I guess it's true what they say, too much of anything, even too much of addiction treatment is bad generally. So I want us to just conclude. You mentioned while you were in rehab, you had other survivors discussing their experiences with other drugs. So you mentioned there were people there who are on higher class drugs, which have less side effects. So people who are on meth, for example, people who are on cocaine, And for those of you who don't understand, or who are hearing about this for the first time, different drugs have different levels. Like spirits, for example, whiskeys, if you take whiskeys, there are whiskeys, the cheaper, the less distilled and smooth, the less distilled. So it's the same thing with drugs. The more refined the drug, the less harsh the effect. So he was telling us, while Kuba gives you red eyes, while Kuba gives you red eyes, it's because of it's sort of a lower grade. Things like meth don't have those harsh effects, so you get the benefits of the drug, i.e. the relaxation, forgetting your worries, but you also don't get the harsh side, so you don't get the red eyes, and things like that. So Henry heard about this in rehab and said, I know I'm on my rehab journey, but let me try co. How did that go? Very briefly.
Yeah, briefly. So, of course, when I came out, I said I'll need to try this at some point.
That became a goal.
Yeah, now that I'd kept contacts, you've met there. I'm like, when we are out, let's meet.
Wow. Yes. So you were planning for life after rehab, to find other drugs.
Yeah.
Wow.
Bad. So, story short, I remember each time I'm sharing this part of the story, I tell, it's one of the references I give, like a dick short can, because I remember me from right from the time I was a child, I even getting that malaria thing from
the prick
sample. It was a problem. I remember even at some point giving a lab attendant hard time. I think they had wanted a lot of blood, but I had refused and said, my veins, no, please prick
from there.
Prick. So they told me, yeah, we shall prick, but we are going to press for a long time. I said, I don't mind, even if it takes 2 hours or so, just pick the blood from there. Why? Because I feared needles entering, the veins. So long story short, I started using heroin. that is now a class A
This
drug.
is after rehab.
After rehab.
Okay,
yeah.
now we're getting, wow.
So I start using it
Heroin.
and smoking. So one time when I went to purchase somewhere in the ghetto, I saw this person. I first saw a process I wasn't understanding. Brown powder, put on a spoon. There's a lighter down to boil it. As it is boiling, someone is preparing a vein, looking for a vein. When it is at boiling point, they pull it, the needle, quick, in that heat, because you see someone's vein, even as it is going, you will see the vein kind of, meaning it's very hot. Then someone just sits down for long hours. So I asked, because one, it was expensive, the other smoking one and what. So I asked, how long is he going to have that? They said that one took such a kind, he's going to have it for 3 days. Yes, he will not be unconscious that 3 days. He was going to go for some time, but the effect is going to remain.
So it lasts longer
Lasts longer. So I calculated and said, okay, instead of buying these smokable ones all the time, wasting a lot of money, I have to travel from Mokono. Why don't I get this one? I try it once. I first drink such that I take it when I'm not, it doesn't pain. I am dead.
So Henry,
yes,
you've come out of rehab. It's not even in your mind that you've come out of rehab. And you know, this is something that that I've learned, is that you can't help somebody who doesn't want to be helped. Because Henry told us it was people, who put him on pressure to go into rehab. So for you do it and come out and continue.
Yes.
It feels like the detox just made space for higher grade drugs. Yeah. So you try heroin.
I tried heroin and I saw it was working for me, because it was covering most of whatever I had heard on how it works was true. Because there was a time there was a presentation in class. Trust me, I don't remember what even happened. But I put on a suit. I remember that day. Then I remember I was sweating, like at bachelor's level. There are those presentations. You dress smart, you go in front, talk for, then the award marks. So I was there. I think I was meant to just talk a very small part. But I don't remember what I said. Then I remember I talked for about 10 minutes. And our group actually got good marks. So I started thinking, okay, this is okay. Maybe there is something to it that, can just awake some kind of intelligence. You can have theories when you're using some of these things. You're trying to justify the use for them. Yeah, that's why you hear some people say, me, when I'm on coke, I will drive you for 10 hours and I will not. So people find reasons to justify, which at the end is not true. It has effects. So back to the heroin. I start using heroin. Of course, issues start because this is a more expensive drug. The story is long, but along the way there is selling of assets, your things. I reached a point of selling shoes. Selling shoes, clothes, just to finance that. Eating tuition. So that was quite part of it, because it was this drug, you would need about 8,000 shillings for one. We used to call it a ticket, a very small thing with little powder. 8,000. And now when you start
using how many tickets? In
a day. At some point I was using 6 to 7.
Oh my God, in one day?
6 to 7 in one day. Because it would just be smoked for 2 to 3 minutes. Then that is it. It keeps on. That's how I was bringing the story of when I went to the other side and saw the cost of this injection and the amount of time it is going to run in the head.
It looked more viable. So people who are watching, you're probably wondering. So something interesting happens when someone abuses substances, and Henry's helping us really appreciate it well. There is something called drug tolerance. So you find that over time you need more than you needed the last time. So if at the start it just takes one sachet to get you high, the more you use, as you use, your body sort of becomes used to it. So you'll need more and more to achieve the same effect. That's how, at the start, Henry thought, I need a sachet.
okay.
It will take me 3 days. Before we know it, we are consuming how many? 8 to achieve the same effect. So this is not just an effect. Think about the amount of money, because if each shot is 8,000 shillings and 8 or 10 now, that's what, 80,000 shillings. Yeah. So you have to sell assets, have to sell things to sustain the urge. And I think this is important, not so that we judge anybody, but so that we come from a point of understanding. I think for me, one of the ways to help and overcome some of these things is just understanding. Yeah. So we can understand how you have to lie, how you have to steal, how you have to sell everything. Now, when we come back, I just want us to look at family, because there are 2 things you've kept mentioning. You've kept mentioning faith. You're born again. You went to a Christian university. I suppose there's a connection there. But addiction doesn't just affect us. It affects our families. You mentioned your mom. Walk us through the toll this had on your family. Yeah, when we come back. Welcome back to the Mindful Show. Today we are learning some things, and if there's something I am learning about addiction or recovery from an addiction, is that it's not a one-time event. It's a journey, one that involves ups, downs, returns to substances, at least from Henry's recount. Welcome back, and we pick it up from there. This last segment of our interview. Henry, by now, the list of substances that you have shared feels unending. Cuba, alcohol, spirits, Cuba, beer, spirits, heroin. Is there any other drug that we add to this list?
Of late, they are...
No, which you abused.
Which I abused. Basically it was Cuba, the spirits, beer, of course, marijuana.
Okay, I left out marijuana.
Yes, marijuana.
Then heroin.
And some cocaine.
Cocaine now?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Prescriptions at a certain point.
You also abused prescription drugs?
Yeah, at a certain point.
All right. Was this during rehab or?
No, this was now after planning to leave completely everything, and not wanting to use the cocaines and the heroines and what.
Okay.
But can I use something which is medical?
Okay.
That
to
is,
treat an addiction.
I remember one time I went and asked a funny question that almost got me slapped. I went and asked, is morphine in tablet form? Do we have it in tablet form? I need it. And they asked me, what do you want more? And I was ready to pay. So that was, because morphine is one at least I know of. I've talked to a young man, I think about 4 months ago, who is using it. So when I see him using, I kind of remember was this, and it is bad. Yeah, but of late there are very many prescriptions. Yeah, so prescriptions were among the drugs I also used.
So heroin, marijuana, and also the forms of administration are clearly different. Some ingest, then there's IV, so the needles, but in spite of the fear of needles. So just for our viewers who are following and are wondering, did you ever go back to rehab?
Yes, I did.
This time, was it people or you are the one who was like, this time I'm going for me?
I did, because there was another option of changing rehab. Yeah, changing rehab. There was a time I didn't. They did not want me admitted back at alcohol and drug unit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the drug unit refused to take you in.
Yeah, at some point, because during the other stay in the rehab, being a person who always wants to look for money, I decided to start jumping, bringing in alcohol and what in the center for people. So there was that point. So I left, and
I have to credit your entrepreneurial acumen at this point for the wrong reasons, but yeah, clearly there's something there, and I hope you explore it later in life. You have a knack for meeting needs in interesting ways. Yeah, on the lighter side of things. Yeah, but you know, so you this time you go back to rehab.
I go back. Yeah. Okay, maybe what I can just say, my 4th time to attempt rehab.
So you went into rehab 3 times.
3 times.
That includes a rejection. And then you had a 4th attempt.
A 4th attempt.
Okay.
Yes, I'm counting those in terms of where I had a stay, a long stay. Because there were some I would just be taken and, you know, it is just for 2 days to cool. That's now where the family bit will answer comes in from. Yeah, so, but overall, some people count as 10, but I usually don't count it as that because those were just short term, 1 week, 3 days.
Okay, so if we do an assessment of how many times you were in rehab, including the short stays, it could be about 10 times.
Yeah, around that.
All right, but then the shorter times, which are what you would call substantive, are 4 in your recollection.
Yes.
Okay.
So my 4th time was personal will. This is now when
the 4th time was when you said, no, I'm going to do this.
Yes, the reason.
What made that's one of the things that makes it different, right? Yes. That you decide to do it on your own volition. And how did that go?
The reason I decided to quit that, there was a friend of mine whom I had known from secondary school. So alcohol was for him, he was not engaged in other things. It was just alcohol. So we joined together university, and you know, after graduation, he was a little bit, for him, focused more on academics and all that. So after graduation, of course, we are home looking for jobs. Then he gets a job somewhere, and he called me and said, you know what, I've got a job and I'm going to be an administrator, such and such a place. My pay is going to be this. Come and we celebrate. That day I had taken, I think I had malaria, and so I had taken malaria medicines, and I didn't want to use anything else because it would affect me. So I told him, let's push it to tomorrow or the other day. He said, okay, I'm going to go and have first my own. And of course I knew his style of drinking. He would take the sachets, and this was someone who would tell you, give me a mint, I'm coming. He goes out, 3 seconds, he's back, he's smelling, and the cavera is done. So his drinking was bad, which of course is not good for. So he bought a whole carton of sachet alcohol, about 24 of them. And
to celebrate.
In the morning, I receive a phone call, very early in the morning. I receive a phone call, your friend died last night, you know.
Okay.
So
okay.
Initially, each time people would come and talk to us about alcohol, you know, you would see theories. Someone comes, puts a sketch there. When you drink, your lung is like this. So there was a way, yes, you believe it. It's not, but this was real. Like, I had seen this and I knew it was not suicide. It was not, he was drinking to celebrate. So when the post-mortem thing came out, of course he had ingested 18 of them. And the thing was, I think internal organs failed because of the rate at which he was. Yeah, so knowing the kind of person on how he drinks, I would say.
And you should have been with him that day.
Yeah, so I knew, okay, this thing now real. It is not stories, it's not a documentary we are watching that we are not sure if it's scripted. It has really happened here. I said, okay, this thing now kills. I have accepted.
So it took the death of someone
it took
for
someone's
you
life.
to accept that
Yeah.
you need help.
I knew I'm next, because for him he was just using that. Me, I was using a combination of very many things. So for him, I said, if this person who is using one has died, it means I'm not very far, because we started using around the same time, and that's what kept us friends. We just,
Wow.
yeah. So that was my biggest turning point. I said, okay, now I think enough is enough. Yeah, I don't want to die now. Let me
take my help seriously.
Yeah.
Wow. And after that fourth time is the journey to where we are today.
Yeah.
Talk to us. Okay. So guys, I'm just taking in that his friend passed away. So and if you are watching this and wondering what some of the effects of addiction are, in certain cases where it goes unaddressed, you could lose a loved one, or you could be next, from Henry's story. I cannot imagine what this must have done to your family. Watching you, I mean, you're obviously very intelligent. For all the things you've been able to do, I don't know what this must have done to your family. Walk us through how, first of all, did this affect them?
Mm.
And how does addiction affect families? Because we know it's a family disease. Addiction has been defined as a family disease. Yeah. How did it affect your family?
So remember, in my introduction, I told you I'm a firstborn, and I have 4 ladies following, 4 girls. Of course, naturally, that is supposed to be a very significant, whereby they are looking up to you, the like fact that brother. Yeah, you're their elder brother, really. So when all this starts happening, because the family will not understand. For me, I remember that was something my counselor kept on telling me, because there are times we'd go to a session and I'm quarreling about what happened, and they said you can't blame them, they don't know.
So what are some of the things when you say what happened?
Yeah, there is it all started, one, I told you, in the progression of this, you realize you have to start using money.
Money, stealing, lying.
Exactly. You walk in the sitting room, and the mere fact that they know that you have an issue with addiction, whether you're not the one, if 10,000 was left on the table and they don't find it, definitely, because in the history of the home, before even this happened, that was not there. Someone would leave money there and would find it, but such things start happening that are underlooked. Is the day you're feeling withdrawals, you don't have money on you, you see it there, pick, and of course also other tangible things start moving, so it was real theft, as I can say, which is part of addiction. TVs, now you see all those things kept on building. Then there was a day I went to watch a football match and it had rained. I drank, came back very late with mud in my shoes because I was high. I entered the girls' room and climbed on someone's bed with muddy shoes. And that was, I think that's where Paul said, okay, this is the limit. So, sometimes when you've taken and you're totally off, you don't have strength to do anything. They can move you around, kick you, and all that. Yeah, so issues started coming where these girls are saying, you know what, you people, if you feel you want him here, for us, we can move. We are not here. We can leave this house for you. Because my mom, coming from a counseling background, knew she did addictions in her, in studies and what. So she knew what was involved. So for us, somehow, there was that separation of a parent and a counselor.
Yeah. Sure.
Exactly. So these people thought she doesn't mind about how they feel, that I
Yeah.
can do whatever I want, and they'll brush it off and say, let him stay, life has to move on. So they ended up getting frustrated. And of course, also, usually when something is wrong in the home with one person, it affects the others, your other siblings, because points came in whereby they are also getting rude at each other.
Yeah, because they're dealing with all of this.
With a lot, yes.
So they would project their frustration onto each other.
Yeah, fights. But one thing that helped was the counseling of the family. They call it Al-Non, something like that. Yeah. Then also sessions were organized for them to understand the real problem of addiction. But you know, it was hard because someone would think that this is a moral thing.
Yeah. Because you keep mentioning faith, you know, you were born again,
exactly.
were this. Yeah.
Yes. Someone will not understand how the guy who used to play even keyboard, you know, preaching during some lunch hours, some days, is now at this. So some of the sisters were also taking it that maybe I want to continue. I mean, I feel that lifestyle is the best. I can easily wake up and say I've quit, but me, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
For me, I just want to be high all the time. So there was quite a lot. I had to be moved out of home several times. Sometimes sleep in police posts. They do when they have already organized people because they know I'm coming back. Probably there was something building up from the day that I have gone to go and drink, charge and come back, you know, probably to cause a fight, which in some cases was not the case. But because they know there was a quarrel earlier, they have to be on the alert that he's coming, and so you reach, you're peaceful, and you just see two people taking you and, you know, dragging you. So it was bad. It took, I must confess, it took time to rebuild them. Yeah.
So it took a strain. It took a strain on your sibling relationship.
Yeah, it did a lot.
Wow. There's some interesting stuff you've shared that recovery is not just for you. Your family had to be counseled. So it's important that families are counseled. So if there's one thing we've learned, it's that even though one person may be struggling or dealing with an addiction, the effects are felt by so many people. Your family, it takes its toll on your family as well. And so from Henry has shared how even while he went for rehab, it was important that his family also goes through rehabilitation. So family counseling sessions are very important. And if you're watching this and you're wondering, you know, how do we support somebody who's battling with an addiction? Or if you're watching and you're just frustrated, you know someone and you've had it, you're frustrated, you're fed up. One, you're not alone. Two, your reaction is normal. Three, there is no need to feel guilty about it. But yeah, there's hope in just getting counseling because it also takes its toll on you. So you're probably just dealing with the effects of living with or trying to support a person battling a substance use disorder. In closing, Henry, we've said so much today and it's been such an eye-opening interview. There are two things I'd like us to touch before we close. What do you wish people knew about addiction? Because when you come out, there are so many assumptions we make. Like you said, some people think you're just doing it, like you can't stop. People don't know that it's compulsive. Compulsive means I can't help myself. You know, I'm a slave to this thing. What's the one thing that you needed at that time that people who are watching can give to people who are battling with addiction?
Okay. Maybe I'll start by saying addiction is a disease.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a disease.
yes.
Yeah.
Some people think
Mhm.
addiction is a moral failing.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably for you, you feel you just want to drink and that is it. You have the power to stop it. That's what someone may think, that you have the power to stop it even anytime, but you just don't want to. And yet this is a disease that requires
Medical intervention.
medical intervention. It is something that entails quite a lot, and it can't just be cleared in one day. The very way you say you have a disease, maybe malaria, you go take tablets, and do that. But now for this particular part, addiction is a disease, and it should be handled as that. How is it handled? That is where we look at going to the counselors, seeking for help. Yeah, there's a lot of information about addiction in very many places. There's in print, but meeting someone for help, it's totally different from what. So addiction should not be seen as someone just having bad behavior, moral failure. Some people say witchcraft. Some people talk about genetics, but this is a disease that should be handled as a disease. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you. So you wish people knew it really is a disease.
It is a disease.
That affects the brain. We'll have that conversation soon. Yeah. So as we close, Henry, tell us, did you ever recover fully?
Yeah, I did.
You did.
Yes,
That's
I
good
did.
to hear. So
Yeah.
for all the things that we have had,
Yes.
the story actually ends well. Henry made a full recovery. And what have you been able to enjoy? How has life changed ever since you stopped abusing substances after recovery?
Yeah, of course, opportunities opened up. We are looking at in terms of work. Previous times we wouldn't hold a job even for 3 months because you can't manage. But opportunities for work did come around. Marriage. Marriage, yes. I have a wife. We have been married 5 years now, making 6.
Wow. And during all of this, alcohol-free, clean.
Actually, why I wanted to bring in that point was, now my wife, who was the girlfriend by then, witnessed the whole of this.
Wow.
One time I had her give a talk somewhere, and I was like, okay, I think this addiction process helped, because she now speaks from experience, and she's helping some loved ones of people who have gives talks and all that. So that was also quite a good story. Marriage, yeah.
Wow. So there is hope after all.
Yeah, there is hope.
Right. So how long have we been clean?
We have been clean for 8 years.
Wow.
I'm still going.
Wow.
8 years, 6 months, 21 days.
Hey. So you have to count. And do you have to make that decision to stay clean every day, or it's now normal?
That's a good point. When someone says I'm a recovering addict and then says so far 20 years, it means that I have not recovered. It means if I am to take alcohol again, I will go back to how. So me, I can't handle. I am an addict. I'm not a social drinker. I can't manage. So I am a recovering addict. Yes, that's where it comes from.
So you'll always be in the state of recovery.
Exactly.
So if you even took one today, we go back.
Yeah, you can go worse than how it was the other time. Yeah.
So essentially, you take the decision every day, right? And if you're watching this, I think it's important for people to just know every day you stay clean it's not obvious. So you're doing well. Yeah. And also from Henry's story, I hope we can appreciate that relapses do not mean it's all over. You can pick it up and resume. So if you fail at the first time, Henry did 10. There's 10, there's 4. Please don't give up. Don't give up on the addicts in your care. Take care of your mental health, even as you're looking after persons struggling, because this thing takes its toll. It takes its toll. Henry has also helped us to appreciate there's always something we are running from when we choose to abuse substances. So it's never just about what you're drinking, it's what you're dealing with. And there's healthy ways to cope that don't include abusing substances. Henry, it has been a gift to have you on the Mindful Show. Thank you for insisting that we should have another episode, and I'm so glad that you are that next episode. Thank you for sharing your story so openly. I'm sure people will be blessed. If somebody wants to reach out, where do they find you?
Okay, currently I'm a recovery coach.
Ooh, guys, nice.
I'm a recovery coach, substance use disorder recovery coach at counseling firm. If you want to reach me, I stay in Mukono. My contact is 0782 972700.
Great.
Yeah, it's on WhatsApp as well.
Okay. Yeah. So as a recovery coach, yes, you help people walk through.
I help people. My interest is so much in young people because I do not want them to go through what
you went through.
Yeah, so basically I just help in that part. There is a team that does the psychological part, but I do more of the realistic, the what it is, with these guys. Yeah.
Wow. So when this show started, I introduced Henry as a substance use disorder survivor. I am pleased to reintroduce him as a recovery coach. It has been wonderful connecting with you. Please do not forget to subscribe, follow us on all our socials at The Mindful Show. Special thank you to every one of you for following. Please don't forget to leave your comments below. We will follow them up. If there's something you'd like to hear on addictions, whatever it is, we're here for it. Questions on your mental health, we're here for it. We look forward to connecting with you on the next episode of The Mindful Show. Till then, take care of your mind. Bye.